Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 2021 PMEA District 7 Virtual Festival. My name is Dr. Campbell, and I am the current president of District 7 and PMEA, and also the orchestra director at Cedar Crest High School. I'm very happy to see all of you this afternoon. Our 3:30 session today will be conducted by Dr. Travis Weller. Dr. Weller is the director of music education at Messiah College, or Messiah University. He holds a PhD in music ed from Kent State University and other degrees in music ed from Duquesne and also from Grove City College. He is also an accomplished composer and conductor. We are very excited to welcome Dr. Weller to speak to our aspiring music education majors today. Welcome, Dr. Weller. The floor is yours.
Mr. Campbell, thank you so much. And to all you students, thank you for making this part of your weekend and your festival experience. Certainly different. We were just talking right before, we let you all in, and, it's almost been a year, and it's crazy to think about that. But, that all being said, finding new ways to, make sure that you folks are getting the most out of your experience in high school. And I'm happy to be a part of that and happy to share some things with you that if you're considering a career in music education, and even some of these things are going to transfer to other areas of music. And I think it'll be helpful for you to consider. And whether it's the short term, whether you're 4 months from graduation or, a year and 4 months from graduation, I think there's some things that you can think about and you can start to incorporate it as part of your daily process in preparing. We spend a lot of time, in the public education, and we know there's job shadowing opportunities, and and there's different things that we prepare people for careers. But you do need to think about, like, is life as a music major and a career as a music educator, and taking the steps now, because you aren't going to have you won't get a job as a music educator. And Mr. Campbell can tell you this, you're going to get a lifestyle. And that lifestyle is very unique because it comes with like free pizza parties, and it comes with t-shirts, and it comes with trips to like very strange places to perform for people that might never see you ever again. But I will tell you, on the other side of that, it's really one of the most rewarding things that I ever got to do. And I was able to do it for 22 years before coming to Messiah. So I'm going to share some things here. And I do want to reserve some time for questions at the end, just in case you have them. And let me look here. Yeah, I guess am I? Nope. Okay. So maybe I'm not able to share my screen.
You should be able to.
Okay. There we go. Okay, it's asking me for access. Why is that? There we go. Okay. Let's try this one final time, and if not, I'll just have to move on, but I think we're okay now. All right.
There it goes.
There we are. Took a little bit. The Bitmoji must have taken a little bit longer to load. So, all right. So, there's some things that I would tell you up front that both you need to consider and your parents would need to consider. A little bit of background about me. I grew up on an 80-acre farm about 45 minutes north of Pittsburgh. And my father was a truck driver, and he spent time as the road supervisor for the township. My mother was a part-time school secretary, and neither one of them really had, knew what to expect when I went down this career path. My brother was an electrical engineer, and, he's much smarter than me. And so when I said I wanted to go to this, career of music education, I mean, there were some things that, we had never even considered. And, I was going to be a tuba major. And, that means, I need a tuba. Right. And so those kind of things, and those kind of need to be conversations that if you're going to go forward, you need to reach out to your directors and your teachers at the high school that you have for music, and you need to talk to them about that path, because they'll be very honest with you. Like, you know what, you're going to need to consider this. And if you're studying privately with somebody, you're going to have that conversation. And the conversation that I would tell you, and I'm about, as of next year, I will have 2 music education majors in my family that are my own children. And, they've had plenty of time, to really think about it. They've listened to me and their mother talk at dinner, like, this is what the life is and this is what we do. But you know what, they understand the reward, that comes with it. And so there's investment, there's financial investment and there's personal investment. There's things there that, if you're going into another field, that you might not have that high degree of investment. If you were going into something like accounting, if you were going into something, something involved with science, you wouldn't necessarily need to fork out, $4,000 for a calculator. You might not have to lay out, capital for, I've got to get some piano lessons to get myself a little bit better. And, there's always that fear and trepidation of, oh man, I don't know that I have what it takes. And I'll just share this with you. Part of becoming a successful music educator, it's not just on how good you are right now. It's how good can you become put in the right situation with the right people and getting the right experiences. I don't mean for any of you to be offended whenever I say this, but I am less a believer in that some people just have talent and that's why they do really well. I'm more of a believer in that you have passion for what you do, you have a keen interest in what you do, and you're willing to work hard to make yourself the very best possible person at that thing. And I think with anything, and I feel this way about my work as a composer, my work as a conductor, my work as an educator, I work at all 3 of those areas, and that's why I get better at them. And I think you will find as you move forward and you go through music education, if you are willing to listen to your teachers and you're willing to put in that work, to quote DJ Khaled from I forget what commercial, put in that work, Devin. You got to put in that work, because that will make a difference. So let's, and we'll go ahead. I'll ask you to put these answers in the chat. And Mr. Campbell, if I could call upon you once they put their answers into the chat, and then I reveal the answers, would you be willing to record who would get all 5 questions right so that I can send them an almost fabulous prize? Now, don't get too excited here. I said almost fabulous, not fabulous. Almost fabulous. So just take a look at those 5 questions. One of them is a multiple choice. The third one is a true and false. And just drop your answers in the chat if you would, so that I could see where we are. These are not hard questions, but they're going to illustrate a point that I do want to make to you about my journey, and hopefully is going to give you a little bit of insight where that maybe means for what it means for your journey. As soon as you've got, and just you actually would be very beneficial if you can just drop all your answers in one fell swoop. That'll make it easier for Mr. Campbell to keep track of things. It's nice to see that some of you recognize the name John Powell. That's good. But that's neither confirming nor denying anything. So please keep that in mind. All right, we have a couple of people that are dangerously close, which is good. And I'll give everybody just a few seconds. I think we're still missing just a couple.
I'm glad you're keeping track because I'm not.
Okay, well, I am going to call it right now, and I'm really sorry, but there are no almost fabulous prizes to be given. So again, don't mean to shock you, but here's where we are. How many district bands? Well, that was easy, 0. Never had the opportunity. You know, certainly my friends went, but I never made one. In terms of years of private study, I got a couple of lessons with my band director when I made the switch from saxophone to tuba, but everything else I just worked out on my own. And it was really between balancing, you know, work on the farm for my dad, the other things that I was involved in, and the fact that I was living, you know, 15 miles from the school out in the country. There weren't an abundance of tuba teachers, so that did make things a little bit more difficult. Yeah, I failed badly. My grades in Algebra 1 as a let me think, 8th grader were F, F, C minus, B minus. Somehow I did pass the second semester, but the 2 Fs meant I failed for the year. So that was really humbling. You know, whenever I got to my 9th grade year and I'm retaking Algebra 1 with all the, you know, smart 8th graders and a couple of like super brain 7th graders, and, you know, it's humbling. It was absolutely humbling. But I share that with you to remind you that failure is not final unless you let it be. Okay. And, you know, I got it handed to me and I had to get up and I had to keep going. Never, not once. Nope. Didn't do it. And even if I would have tried out, I'm not sure I would have made it because I played the tuba. And, you know, most band directors want tubas on the field, not on the podium. So that was, you know, a little tough pill to swallow. I love all these people, but I do love John Williams best. I love Rafe Vaughan Williams. I don't know if any of you listened to, you know, I'm sure some of you have played Folk Song Suite by Vaughan Williams. You perhaps played the Flourish for Wind Band. You know, there's chances are some of you have sung something if you've been in a choir. You know, certainly a lot of orchestral rep that Vaughan Williams did. But for me, he's the end all. He's really good, but I love John Williams. Respighi is also great. If you've not heard Church Windows or The Pines of Rome, you know, I'd encourage you to check both of those out. But listen, I'm sharing all these things to just remind you that a great artist and a great music educator, they are almost the same person. And while we can't all be a great artist, and those of you who've seen Ratatouille, you understand this, a great artist can come from anywhere. And I take a lot of pride in my ability to get where I am because it took every ounce of me working towards it. And I didn't necessarily have all of you have made at least one more district band than I will ever make. And that's great. So remember that all these opportunities that you're going to have can help you. They can help you develop, become the person, the music educator that you're supposed to be. And it's all these experiences start to fill what I call your teaching toolbox, because you reflect upon things that have happened to you, things that you've gone through, and you start to identify things like, man, yeah, that was really awesome. I need to remember that. Oh, I loved it whenever this guest conductor or my band director or my choir director, my orchestra director, they would do this. And we start thinking about those little things so that when we start becoming a music educator, we carry on the very best of what's been instilled with us. That has to be our mantra. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you 7 things to think about, and these are going to go by relatively quickly. And if any of you want, specific notes about it or suggestions, I've got my email address at the end. You're welcome to contact me. I'm not too far down the road at Messiah University, so if you want to come and set up a visit or even do a personal virtual visit right now, I'd be more than happy to set that up with you. But these are the 7 things that it comes down to for me, that I think are really important for a music educator to start down that path. And you can see here, there's nothing groundbreaking here, but there are things that I think are important for you to do. Building your habits, learning to listen, practice. Okay, show of hands, and I'm going to scroll through. How many of your directors told you that you had to practice for your district band, choir, orchestra audition? Hand up, yeah, right. Did they tell you specifically what to practice? We're going to have to talk about that. Okay. Piano, sight singing, and ear training and theory. We'll get into a little bit of all that. Seeking resources, finding opportunities not only to perform, but opportunities to teach, and then growing your professional network. Those are the 7 things. And I think they're pretty basic things, but I think they are things that if you're going to go down this path to do what Mr. Campbell does, what Mr. Martini does, what I do, what your own high school music educators do, what the elementary music teachers that you had interaction with, if you're going to go down that road, these things are going to serve you well in a variety of ways. So, all right, let's let living with these 7 things. We'll go the first 3. I'll just let you soak in that quote for just a minute. And I heard it years ago, and when I heard it the first time, I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. There is a very interesting meme that was making the rounds on Instagram this week. And, I am like, if you're going to follow me on Instagram, please understand that you're going to get a healthy dose of the fact that I love to grill foods. I love nature and animals. And I'm in it for Star Wars memes and also, practicing, jokes about musicians. And there was one where it shows Spider-Man, and a guy dressed up as Spider-Man, and he's holding this piece of paper, and it says, by not practicing, you are getting better at sight reading. Which you think about, like, you're like, oh yeah, well, I really want to get better at sight reading. And okay, let's tap the brakes. That's not quite how that works. But getting in the habits will liberate you. Okay. If you don't get in the habit of doing things when you're supposed to do them, how you're supposed to do them, you set a dangerous precedent. That means you're always going to be behind. You're always going to be late. And those are 2 things that I will tell you, high school principals, elementary principals, middle school, junior high principals, they don't want out of their music educators. They don't like those things, and that doesn't fly well. You can ask your own teachers. That's just the way it is. Now, a couple other things here. Finding artists that you like to listen to, that challenge you musically and you want to sound like. As a tuba player, the first time I got to hear Sam Polifian, my mind was absolutely blown because I didn't know that tubas could sound like that. I'm like, what has even happened? Like, this guy is playing like lyrically and melodically. And because I've lived my life as a tuba player as either going bah, bah, or bum, 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 bum. And for those of you singing VeggieTales theme song in your head right now, you're welcome. But that was my life as a tuba player. And those, my friends who played bass clarinet or Barry sax, they were in that same boat. Okay. But I heard Sam Polifi and I'm like, man, this guy can play. This is beautiful. This is gorgeous. And that changed how I wanted to listen to things. Think about it this way. You can go back to your school on Monday and there will be students who will be wearing a sports jersey. They'll be wearing the t-shirt of their favorite band. Well, listen, if I could get if there was a t-shirt with Sam Polifian's face on it, I would probably wear it. If there was a jersey, especially a hockey jersey with Sam Polifian's name on it, I would definitely wear it. And I think that sometimes, we think about these people and like, oh, they're just, amazing. Like, there's no way I could be a professional athlete, but I'm going to wear the jersey anyway. Well, listen, you can be a performing musician a lot easier than you could be a professional athlete. And you could have a rewarding career doing that. And you might never play the New York Philharmonic with the New York Philharmonic, but you could play for large crowds. You could have your own ensemble and you could do that while teaching. So part of it is making sure that you are aspiring to play like certain people. Sam Polifian is one for me. Andrew Hitz, who is just down the road in Shenandoah, is another one. Zirkle, who teaches out at Michigan. Like if any of those people release a recording, I definitely want to listen to it. Going back to the composers that I named, I still find a lot of inspiration in what Vaughan Williams and Respighi do, and I enjoy listening to them. I like listening to John Adams. It's absolutely fascinating. The one I've stumbled upon recently, and I'd encourage you to check it out, is Michael Torkey, and it's called Being. It's on Spotify, and I've listened to the whole thing 3 times in the past 3 weeks, and it's I can't believe it's just so effortless. But finding those people that challenge you, that make you want to be a better musician, that's really important. The last person I'm going to leave you with is Jacob Collier. I'm like, who is this young little scamp, and what business does he have making music? Because I'm watching this cat, and he's like in a full head to tail, like jammy suit with like the hood, but he's playing bass guitar, and I'm like, this guy is nuts. Then I listened to what he did, and I'm like, nope, that's nuts. His treatment of Henry Mancini's Moon River, oh my gosh, it's so gorgeous. And then like what he did with Lionel Richie's All Night Long, like it blew my mind. And the fact that you could get Quincy Jones, the Quincy Jones, to appear in that music video just to hold a sign to tell everybody, hey, this is what chord I'm on. That means Quincy Jones knows this cat, he knows what's up. Find those artists, find the artists that push you and aspire to be like them. You're never going to, I don't want you to be them. I want you to be your own musician, your own educator, right? But you've got to have that goal in mind of being challenged musically by the music you hear of others. That should inspire you and get you excited. And that's what I like. The last part of this, and it's sort of related. Got to go back. There we go. Setting aside the time where you can refine skills, things that your directors, your ensemble teachers are talking to you about school, things that your private teacher is talking to you about, finding the time to do that. And both of these first 2 things are definitely habit related, making time just to do it. And I had an interesting conversation with one of our graduate students at Messiah this week, and he said to me, he's like, well, he goes, I'm just really impressed with how well you seem to stay read on things, and you're able to make comments about it and give us insight on this issue, like, how do you do it? And I got into a habit as a public school music teacher that part of what I had to do was every month during one of my prep periods, I would do nothing else but catch up on reading journals. What does the latest research say? What do the people who are writing for teaching music say? I take time and I try and do a little bit of composition every day. Not all of it is me sitting at a piano laboriously writing one note after one note. No. It's in my mind, I'm working through ideas because I understand that making things a habit will make me better because I continue to work on it. I'm going to tell you right now, I haven't arrived. I haven't. And that would be something I would tell any future music educator. You're always going to be a work in progress. And that's good, because that means you're going to keep wanting to get better for the sake of your students and for the subject that you have so much passion about and that you want to share. Yeah, Jacob Myers. I love Jacob Collier. Yeah, he's a good dude, right? All right. So, there's a couple things that I would tell you. If you've not checked out, and I know some high school theory courses use Ricci Adams, musictheory.net. It was a big deal whenever it started out as a Web 2.0 website. And now Ricci has this thing going, and, you can have the app on your phone. And I think it's a fantastic theory tutor. So again, I took a music appreciation course, but I never took a theory course. And, I survived. I did. I really did. It was okay. And, I will tell you that I did little things to make myself better at theory. And I'll talk about those in just a minute. There's an ear training website, and I believe it's called tonedear.com. It looks like tonedear.com. That's like a conversation I have with my wife. Like, what's the band's problem? Tone dear. But I think it's toned ear. So just keep that in mind. It's really helpful. You can do different things with intervals. You can do different things with chords, and you can really set things up. You can really think, you can set things up to really address a weak spot that you have. In terms of lessons, and again, this is another part of my path, knowing that I was going into it. I have hands, and I've got these wonderful fingers. They tend to leave me when I sit down at a piano. I don't play well, but I knew that was going to be something that would be part of the path. And as a music educator, it doesn't matter what school you go to, you're going to have to pass a piano proficiency exam. And there's some basic exercises that you have to do. So my senior year of high school, in between musical rehearsal, that was the only thing I ever studied privately on, really, before going on to college. I took some piano lessons so that I wouldn't be, completely lost. And that's certainly something I would encourage you to do. We have Dr. Ewald at Messiah, and she does a wonderful job getting students ready and through to pass the piano proficiency exam. And I think it's an important thing, because most schools are going to certify you K to 12 music, which means you could be like my friend Kate, who teaches out at Akron City Schools. 2 years ago, she was the high school director at the Magnet Arts Charter School. And, that's just what she did. She took a sabbatical and did some adjunct work at Kent State University for a year. And then she's returned to the Akron City Schools this year. I talked to Kate. I said, well, what exactly are you teaching right now? She's like, well, she goes, I assist with the one high school band. I said, okay, what's the rest of your day? She goes, I'm teaching K1 and 2 music. And Kate, I said, Kate, did you ever teach K1 and 2 music? She goes, no. And so here's Kate, who is, Kate just turned 42 this year. And for the first time ever in her career, she's teaching these little ones, and they're doing a lot of singing and a lot of dancing and a lot of moving, tuneful, beatful, artful, that the things that John Feyerabend tells us are really good for young children. Those are the things that Kate is sort of relearning how to do right now. And she's like, yeah, she goes, I haven't been playing piano much, but you better believe that I'm on Zoom with my kids, and, I'm chording through songs, and we're working on singing this song, and I'm figuring the chords out. And again, piano is a very useful skill that you need to have. Another aspect here, and that is knowledge of resources. And just by a show of hands, if you you can use the hand up. How many of you have read either Talent Code by Daniel Coyle or This Is Your Brain on Music by Dan Levitin? If you haven't, those are very easy reads. And you'll notice one of them is not necessarily music related, but it does get into something that we see in music education, like, oh, you're so talented. And listen, you're going to have a spring concert, and I hope you have a spring concert, and I hope there's people there. That's really what I'm hopeful for all of us, right? Um, you're going to get done with that concert. Your grandma, your grandpa, your aunt, your uncle, your friend, like, oh, so good. You're so talented. Don't throw water on them. Don't throw the damp blanket on them. Just say thank you, right? But if you read Talent Code by Daniel Coyle, there's some things there that he's going to debunk about talent that I think are really good. This is Your Brain on Music. Dan Levitin has spent his entire life, much like, it's from UNC Greensboro. Name is going to come to me a lot later, but he's devoted the better part of his life to looking at research regarding music and the brain. And it's really it's a fascinating read, but it's an easy read. And you read Daniel Levitin's resume, you're like, this might be one of the smartest people on the face of the earth, but yet he writes in such a way that you don't feel like you can't understand it. So the one thing about, finding those resources, some of the resources that are going to make you a better music educator are not necessarily going to be books and resources that deal specifically with music. One of the books that I read, during my time as a high school director was Leading with the Heart, and it was written by Mike Krzyzewski. Mike Krzyzewski, the longtime successful head coach of the Duke University Blue Devils men's basketball team. And, I didn't like Duke. Whoever Duke was playing, that's who I cheered for. And after I read his book on leadership, I realized that there were things that he was talking about from an administrative point and from a code of ethics point that had direct application to what I was doing with my marching band. And I thought to myself, like, I should be able to transfer these kind of things. And so that constant renewal and enriching of your mind and reaching out to sources beyond music and taking that and focusing it then on strictly on music will help you be better. Okay. All right. We are doing well. And again, I want to have some time for some questions here. Here's the thing. And I talk about this all the time with my students at Messiah. I want to see the best possible musician and the best possible teacher get a chance to meet and have dialogue with each other, because it's really interesting how becoming a better musician starts to make this side of you, the teacher, wonder, how would I get a kid to do that? And the better teacher over here that improves starts to think about, that artistry of so-and-so. How do I get my students to that point? And I put a premium on both because I feel that they're both important. So this first part of this point 6 is like, finding performances. And I get it right now. It's really difficult. Just the nature of, the what things are and the way things are. We've been starved for performances. But if you've got an opportunity to share what you can do musically at church, if you can share it with a Chamber of Commerce luncheon, if you can get friends together and you can go out, like, in December, I knew there were people that were going out and they were Christmas caroling. Yes, singing and playing, like, why not, right? And sometimes you just have to make an audience. And that's another important aspect right now that I hope doesn't go away. And there are plenty of people on, different social media platforms that are making themselves an audience. I give my daughter a lot of credit. She is collaborating with one of her fellow classmates from Messiah. Alex is now out at Arizona State getting her master's in performance on clarinet. And, Hannah's a junior music education major, but they frequently collaborate on Instagram. And they put up different duets, and sometimes they've worked in quartets. And they have created an audience just by, let's get together, let's put this together, let's make it really good, and let's just share it with people. And I that's one thing I hope doesn't go away when the world resumes to normal. That idea of collaboration and let me take music to other people. Eric Whitaker was so far ahead of the curve when he did that virtual choir. Really, that was like, it's almost 12 years old now, I think. It's crazy to think about, but it was absolutely mind blowing that he had that thought to do that. And that opened the door. And, obviously this COVID situation has really accelerated people getting a chance to do that. The second half of it is, take the initiative, volunteer, talk to your ensemble director, talk to your middle school director that you used to work with. Do they have need of tutors, that can help students who are maybe struggling in their band, in their choir, in their orchestra? Can you go down there, one period of the day? Like, listen, I know what a senior year schedule can look like. And if you can have some free time that would get you out of the mundane of, I am stuck in this study hall or whatever, and you could go do something to help the future legacy of your program by working with a young musician, it's probably going to be really helpful to do that. The other thing that I would tell you is, and just from a general, general education aspect, finding opportunities to mentor, to counsel, to work with young students, at a camp, as part of a church program, as part of a community program. Those are the kind of things that are going to help you understand people a lot better, because a lot of what we do, and many of you know this from the personable directors that you work with daily, we're in the business of people. We make investments in people. Sometimes those investments are musical, sometimes they're social, sometimes they're emotional, sometimes they're intellectual. If I can get two of those things to happen on the same time, I'm feeling good. If I can get three of those things to intersect, I'm like, yes, I love life. And if I can get all four, musical, social, intellectual, and emotional, if I can get all four of those things to hit at exactly the same time, I am over the moon, because I know at that point a difference has been made and somebody is really excited, and they will remember that moment, because in that moment, music has made a difference in their lives. So again, those two sort of go hand in hand, making sure musician, teacher, get them together, let them work some things out, and let them make the world a much better place. So then the final thing I'll talk to you about, and listen, I've already taken some steps here during our session today to let you know that your network has grown by one. There you are. You get me. Listen, there are other people that you can include in your network, and they might be better than me. That's okay. But the reality is, music is a very close, tight knit circle. Somebody knows somebody who knows somebody. And that happens all the time. A friend of mine was interviewing for a position, and it was in Kentucky, and it was an associate director of bands job. And I received a call. I was on his reference list, and I'm talking through him about David's qualifications for this job. And all of a sudden, we got to the end of the conversation. He goes, "So Messiah, and you're now Messiah University." I said, "Oh, yeah. He said, "Okay, so Bill Stoneman is still there." I said, "Yeah, he's my boss. That's the department chair, teaches trumpet." He goes, "Well, please tell him I said hello." And here I've come to find out that they had intersected paths at North Texas many, many moons ago. And it's very such a small coincidental world. And so if you can build your network positively, and you can show others in your network you're reliable, you're musical, you're a good educator, then all of a sudden, a band director is going to get a call from the musical director and be like, "Hey, we really need a flute player for the pit. Who can you recommend?" And all of a sudden, a name pops to the top of the list. "Oh, well, so-and-so student from so-and-so school, they're at this college, this university, and I know they're a really great flute player. Maybe they would come in and do it." Because that's how it happens. The email, the text, the phone call happens, and all of a sudden people are recommending you for gigs. And it's all part of that professional network that you build. And that one is built on reliability. It's built on respect. It's built on trust. It's built on competence. There's a lot of key things that go into that. And believe you me, that's just like on a smaller scale. We go out one circle, and all of a sudden, whenever it comes to that job search, you start getting calls and like, well, what about so and so? Wouldn't they be perfect for that position? Oh yeah, you know what? They came in and they did some lessons with my string program, and now we need somebody who's going to do that at the middle school and teach some general music. We ought to reach out to them and tell them to apply. Doesn't mean you're going to get the job, but it's going to get you in the conversation for a job. And if you've got the requisite skills, you are going to rise to the top, and you'll get that gig. Okay. All right. So I've been talking a lot, and that's all well and nice, but I'm going to put my contact information up here, and you can contact me at Messiah. There's my Messiah email address. If you'd like to contact me through my personal website, it's up there as well. You can grab that. I am on Twitter at Travis J. Weller. And then my Instagram is just Travis J. Weller. Full disclosure, if you follow me on the gram, I already told you the things that you're going to have to get used to seeing. Star Wars memes, pictures of me cooking mammal flesh on my grill. I'm a big fan right now of the Shed Aquarium and Owls of the Day. The Shed Aquarium totally saved me during the pandemic, because they would just do this thing where they would let the penguins run free. It was really quite fascinating. And you'll get a fair share of musician jokes as well. But that's what I'm out there. But I can accept contact through any of those platforms. All right, so let me turn some things back over now. And if you've got a question, go ahead and just drop. Let's do it this way so we don't have anybody tripping over each other. If you would just drop the question in the chat, that'll be great. And I'll answer it as best I can. And I'm going to go ahead and stop my share. That way things will look a little bit more normal. And I'll answer it again. I'll answer it the best I can, and we can talk about a few other things. Oof, yeah, Jeff, there's a lot of things. Jeffrey Martin, advice I wish I knew as a high schooler. Obviously the private lesson stuff, that I discussed earlier. I mean, that was big. I wish I would have, thought a little bit more intently about that, because I wouldn't have started my college career so far behind. But there's probably the biggest thing that I wish I would have seized. Let me put it that way. The thing that I wish I would have seized is advice from my grandmother, Grandma Marion, and she lived to be 96, and she was wonderful. There's so much about her that I remember so fondly. But one of her best sayings was, "Today is the greatest day of your life, if you want it to be." And I wish I would have understood that a lot of things that we encounter in our day are simply a matter of choice. And so I can choose happiness. I can choose to be persistent. I can choose to be of strong mind. And so I wish I would have recognized that lesson from Grandma Marion a little bit sooner. Samantha, a really easy read. If you check out any of the books by Tim Lotzenheiser. We had Dr. Tim on with our NAFME students at Messiah earlier this year, and it was just so refreshing. And Tim, if you cut Tim open, if you cut him in half, enthusiasm and passion for music education would come pouring out. That I think that's all that's inside him. So that would be, any of his books are excellent reads. Pre-career conducting job, if that's easy, Andy, it's funny. Do you know the difference between a conductor and a mutual fund? Eventually, the mutual fund is going to mature and make money. No, and part of it, Andy, with conducting, there's a lot of conductors that have videos up on YouTube, and it is a craft. It is something that you have to study, but it is definitely a long road to. It is definitely a long road to get there. I don't know many people who have pre-career conducting gigs except Gustavo Dudamel. They basically found him, and he was incredible.
I love him. He's got all the hair.
Dude, he and I have the same problem.
Have you guys
Anyway.
actually met each other? Have you guys actually met each other and discussed this with each other?
You know what? I thought about like trying to reach out to him and just see if we could both do like an ad for Head and Shoulders or something like that. The equivalent of the Patrick Mahomes, Troy Polamalu Head and Shoulders commercial, but just it hasn't worked out yet, right?
Yeah, totally. It would be great. You guys should just go out, drink together.
Maybe, probably not though. Jacob, what extent majoring in music ed limits or doesn't limit a chance in other fields of music, such as performance? Jacob, it's a great question. And, here's what I would say, and I can just speak from the students at Messiah. We have 3 students right now who are out getting a master's in music performance, and they are doing that with a music education degree. And part of it is they were able to get someone else to pay for that second degree. And the college and university that they went to are saying, well, hey, you've got this education degree. We're going to give you this teaching assistantship. You'll get your master's in trumpet performance, but we'd like you to teach this brass methods course. We'd like you to teach, we'd like you to go observe student teachers. And so if you're undergraduate, and again, I'm only speaking for Messiah, but we treat everybody the same. So if you're a music performance major or music ed major, it doesn't matter. You're going to get an hour lesson, and we are going to turn you into the best possible musician that you can. We've had students who have done music education degrees, and then they've gone on to medical school, which is a crazy thing to think about. But, and I don't know that it limits the degree. The degree is robust. The degree gets you into a lot of different things, and I think it serves you well. Gabe, boy, Gabe's question is great, because that was the one thing I chose to start doing as a music educator. I didn't have time to play in a community ensemble or an adult group or anything like that, because I had a young family at home that I didn't want to be going out certain nights out of the week. So I made a choice after they would go to bed. That's whenever I started composing, and I would write things, and I would be like, oh, well, you know what, this works. This doesn't work. This would work for it. And it started to make me a better band director, because I started to recognize some of the things that my students really needed a little bit more work on, because I knew that's how different composers were writing. And so that, I would say, that's been the biggest thing, for me. Yeah, Mr. Fisher, I do have some, I don't call them necessarily flex band arrangements, but just some quartets that are available. I am working on some flex band stuff right now for a future Wingert Jones catalog. I don't know that those are going to be out though until 2022. But you can pass the word if any of your band directors are looking for a flex work. I might have something that they can try by next fall. So. Difficult to getting a teaching job right out of college. You know what, Trista, we actually, we don't have any unemployed graduates right now in our program. And a number of them have gone down into Maryland and have enjoyed successful teaching careers thus far down there. Others have taken jobs in other states. Some have been employed here in PA. And as long as you can accept the fact that you might have to move initially, maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours away, to get a job, I mean, the jobs are going to be there. The one thing, and Mr. Campbell, this has been my biggest fear, through the COVID pandemic, is that we're going to have a lot of really great teachers leaving the field because they've been so frustrated and they've been dumped upon. And so we are careening towards this teacher shortage in the Northeast corridor here over the next 10 years. And I think there will be plenty of jobs that will be out there. You know what,
I
Gabrielle, Yeah, Gabrielle, the one thing that I would say is don't be afraid to take, when you're taking lessons, you also need to consider, taking lessons with different people because there are, of course, different schools of thought for every single instrument. And, there are certain teachers that will get certain things out of your sound that maybe another teacher wouldn't. And then you need to be patient with yourself. Don't go down, the path that Miles Davis did, where Miles was trying to make himself sound like Dizzy Gillespie. Go down the path where Miles Davis finally recognized one day, you know what, I'd do a lot better if I would just sound like myself. And that was a trial and error for him. I think for all of you, like, take those lessons and find out what that person is trying to get you to sound like, and what do you want to sound like, and that becomes part of it. And if you've got a good database up here of different people that you have listened to and you're like, oh, I love how this person sounds, and when this person plays rap fast passages or sings fast passages, I love the lightness in their sound. You have that in a database, and you try and aspire to that. Jim Martini, the book is Leading with the Heart, Mike Krzyzewski. Suggestions for tuba repertoire. The piece that I love to return to is the Six Studies in English Folk Songs it's set by Ray Vaughan Williams. It was originally for viola, but there's been transcriptions for a lot of different instruments, and I really like that one. I like the Donald Haddad suite, and I think it's HAD, AAD maybe on Haddad. It's an interesting little work, and I do enjoy playing that one. In terms of larger works, the Vaughan Williams tuba concerto is mammoth, and I mean that's like senior level of college, master's level kind of stuff. Todd Goodman, DMAN, has written a tuba concerto, and I think he has a recording of it up on his website. So. Katerina, was there either a time in high school, college, or after college you did not want to continue with music? If so, how did you continue with music and get over that hump? Katerina, I have to be honest, I don't know how to do anything else, and I don't much want to. That has been, I've never had that happen. I've been talking to my friends and my colleagues who are like, man, I want to get out, and most of it has been influenced, of course, by COVID. They are so beat down right now. And I've been trying to pop into like band rehearsals virtually as often as I can, just to give that director and those kids a shot in the arm. But I never experienced that during my career. I just, once I figured a lot of things out, I knew there was nowhere else that I was supposed to be. And I'm still really pleased that I'm getting to do, what I want to do. So I know a couple of you had sent a private message. If you just want to email me, I would love to set up I can set up a time over the next week. We can visit virtually via Zoom. I've got some time in my schedule, and we can get something worked out. So just some final thoughts. Like, number one, thank you for your effort that puts you in the PMEA District 7 Virtual Festival, whether you're band, choir, or orchestra. Number two, thank you for being interested in music education, because we need passionate young people who are going to enter this profession and reinvigorate it. Because why do band, why does choir, why does orchestra matter so much? I talk about this frequently, but it's the idea of, I'm going to get a group of people to put aside their differences. We're going to come together. We're working towards a common goal, and we're not going to worry about what makes us different. We're going to worry about what makes us better, and what can lift us up, and what can lift our communities up. And I need people like that who want to be music educators, because I know over the next 10 years, it will be the fight of our lives. And right now, I'm looking for young warriors to help along that way. And whether you end up at Messiah University to do that, listen, I'm going to be ecstatic. I'm going to be like, yes. However, if you end up somewhere else in this state and we run into each other at PMEA, please understand you're part of my network now. And you can be like, hey, I was in that clinic you did. Do you have a minute? Could we talk about this and what you do about this? I just want great music educators to continue to grow and make music better for every student in this state. That's what I want. That's my goal. That's what gets me up out of bed in the morning. That's what I got up for. And I've been unwavering in that. And I want to continue to provide that for people. And, you know, if you go down this road, know that you have a friend in me that will encourage you along the way. Mr. Campbell, Mr. Martini, thank you again so much. And I really appreciate the opportunity to share here today.
Dr. Weller, I've been teaching for over 30 years, and you make me excited to be a music teacher today. So thank you for everything that you've offered to all of us teachers and all of these future music educators that were a part of our session today. Thank you, sir, very much.
Hey, thank you. Thank you.
Session.
All right, everybody. Be good. And if not, be good at it.
Exactly.
And if not, run fast.